Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Nigel here with you, Nigel's Modelling Bench. And this is part 9 now of the Lancaster Bomber B.III from Hachette. And this is the revisited series. As I was saying, everyone, if you want to go back and look at the standard build, there is a build that's just called Hachette Lancaster Bomber B.III. But then this one is called Revisited. So there you go. All the work I'm doing here doesn't have to be done. If you just work straight from the packet, straight as the kit comes, you'll end up with a beautiful model. All I'm doing is correcting a few small inaccuracies and making the model sort of, more accurate for its period. Not saying in any way at all the Hachette model is bad. It's not. It is absolutely brilliant. Just look at this. Whoops! Just look at this cockpit. It is gorgeous. It is absolutely gorgeous. All I've done there is added photo etched seat belts and changed some colours. Oh, I've added a couple of decals on the instrument panel. That's it. So that is how it comes out of the packet. So it is beautiful. Right, so in this part 9, oh, by the way, if you want to join in with me and do this build along, go to here. You can look at that QR code. You can also go to the website at the bottom of the screen and you can join in and subscribe, and you'll get all the little freebies and the bits and pieces and everything. You pay for the first issue, the next issue is free, and then you pay from then on. So this one is, we're going to be looking at packs 9, 10 and 11 in this video, and we're going to get all the way up to there, so that should see us pretty much done. So in pack 9 we have all the parts here. I've already gone through, this is the H2S, we're not using that, we've modified this, and we've actually made that unit there into this unit here. So we have the smaller shelf for the period G area radio. So what we're going to do is, instead of having that H2S on there, we're going to have this G on here. Now we're going to have to do some work to detail this, make it look a bit better, but it's going to be glued onto there like so. So that's what we're having, the G instead of the H2S as they've got in the instructions there. Okay, so we'll get that back onto a clip and we'll get that up there. I don't want to glue that on yet because I want to do some detail painting on it. Next we're looking at the parachute. So we've got the little bag here with the bits in from pack 9 or 10, I can't remember which one. Yeah, these are not all the bits from pack 9. They're sort of sharing a bag. So we have here the parachute holder, and I've actually painted it. It came black. I've changed it to green, which is more accurate for the period. So there we go. That parachute literally just pushes in there, and then we'll be fitting that onto that bulkhead we just looked at. So those crocodile clamps can go away. Right, so we've done that, and then what we're going to do then, if we go back, we're going to fit this parachute holder onto this bulkhead. So that's going to go like that, that's going to go that way round, and that's just going to press into there. And because we've painted stuff, we've got a nice tight fit on most things, so we don't need to glue anything, it just all snaps together. But if we want to, we could put some glue on there and just help it sort of stay together, if you like. But I don't think it really needs it, to be honest. And then going over the page here, we have our fire extinguisher, which again they gave us in red. It should be in brass. So I've changed the colour of that, made that into a polished brass colour. I'm going to show you in a minute what paints I've used. So that's going to go into there like so. Probably easier to fit this before the parachute actually. So that's going to press into there just like that. As you can see, it's gone in from behind. So there we go. So that's that on there. And then the next thing is the sextant. Is it sextant holder? I can't remember if it's sextant or sextant. Bubble Sextant Mark 9. There we go. And that is also coloured black in the model. I've changed that to be more accurate to this brick red colour. That is actually like a hollow red colour. Again, I'll show you the paints in a second. So that's going to go onto there. I can get it to line up. There we go. So as you can see now, we've got our green parachute holder, our brass fire extinguisher, and our red sextant holder. So you can see we've completely changed. When you look at that, you can see we've completely changed how it should look. When you look at it like that, you can see there's the original colours and there's my version. Okay, so none of that is glued. I don't think it needs to be, but we probably will. And I'm probably going to put some brown wash on that parachute, just like I've done on the other ones. So that is pack 9 done and dusted. Pack 10 is the wireless operators and navigators table. As you can see, it's got a lump there that we've removed, and it goes on. It talks about putting the table together, and then we're going to put some boxes into the floor, and there's some more boxes going into the floor there. Now, as far as the navigator's table goes, we've already built it up. We've filled in some holes. We've filled in that great big gap at the bottom there. We've removed this lump. We filled in a hole on the table. We've done lots of modifications on this back in part 8, and as you can see, we've glued it all together and then painted it all as one, and that makes things life a lot easier. So as you can see down in this picture here, we've got the fish pond equipment there is not used in a dam buster, so there's a square hole where that sits in, and there's the lump on the table, which is all removed. Okay, so that's that there. Now these boxes, we have the floor. I think we're going back here. Yeah, we're going back here. So here's the floor, again with our added knee pads, and it's all repainted and everything. I have gone and thread cutted, tapped these holes here so that the we don't get swarf everywhere. I think we're going to be tapping holes in there. They look like they're going to be hinges or something, but we shall see. I'm not going to tap anything there because I don't know what screws are going to be going in there, but we shall see. So basically what they're asking us to do is take these 3 parts here, 10F. Now I haven't bothered cleaning these up and painting them or anything because they really can't be seen on the finished model at all. So that one's going to go in there, that's going to need gluing. That one's going to go in there. That's going to need gluing, and that one's going in there, and that's going to need gluing. Okay, so that's going in there, and then turning over the page, it's telling us we've got those, and then we've got this larger one here going in the floor, which is going to sit in there. Like so. Doesn't seem to want to go in. It's kind of, it's got a problem going in. I don't know what it is. We'll have to have a look and perhaps drill the hole. Make it easier. So I'm going to get those glued in, and then that will be pack 10 complete. So you can see we're bombing through this now. Once we get the painting and the modifications done, we fly through. So I'll be back in a second. Okay, so they're glued in now, all nice and solid. I've also put a drop of the extra thin quick setting on the back of each of these pins, and then we're going to go in and just touch in and make those pins all green again. I'm not going to worry about filling the holes and stuff. Really, I should be filling that one on there, but it's already green. I don't want to just make work for myself, but once it's painted green, I don't think it's really going to notice. It's under the table, so that's a good thing. Right, so on to pack 11. So we've got all these parts here for the navigator's table. So here you can see they're getting us to add this piece of equipment to the top, which we've done here. Then we're going to build up the G radio, or the G equipment, which we've got here. They call it the H2S, it's actually G. And then that's going to be fitted to the bulkhead in here, which I'm not doing because we've got it on the other side. And then we've got the 1154 and the 1155 radios for the wireless operator. So we're going to put those on here. I've gone round and removed the mould seams and the sprue gates and everything from these, and then painted them in the black colour. So they've got those backs on them there, they're fitted in. So the first thing we're going to do is put this larger one in. I'm going to just fit the bottom one first. It's going to be a lot easier for me to do. So that one's basically going to go into there, into those holes in there. And I think this should be a push fit. Remember guys, when you do all this painting, this paint has had like 36 hours to dry. Make sure you give it plenty of time to dry, otherwise when you do things like this, you know, when you're squeezing it together hard and everything, you'll leave finger marks in the paint. So just make sure it's had plenty of time to dry. And then that one's going to go into there. Again, it should be good enough to be a push fit because we've got all the additional paint and everything on there. Yeah, that's going to stay there. Right. So that bottom one doesn't. There we go. You heard that go in then. There we are. So that's our radios fitted. Again, you can see this blanking panel here, whereas they've got a big square cutout in theirs. Now they're asking us to fit the seat support, which is already done. That's glued on. Then they're telling us to fit the seat. I'm not going to fit that just now. And then coming over here, they're telling us to fit that to the table, which we've already done. And then what we're going to do is we're going to fit this to this bulkhead. So there's 2 pins on here. There's 2 holes in there. Those pins are going to go into those holes, just like so, just like that. So there we can see we've got our equipment on the right place. I just want to grab something to push on the back of there. What can I use? What can I use? What can I use? Here we go. If we use the side of that. That's all good. Okay, so that's all gone together. So now we've got our bulkhead with all our bits and pieces on. We've got our G radio there. We've got our navigator's table. All looking good. Okay. And then what they're telling us to do is fit this onto the floor, which I'm not going to do just yet because I want to put a couple of decals in and I want to paint this up, which is why I've left that separate. I'll put some gloss coat over that as well. That is basically going to go, those 2 pins in there are going to go into those 2 holes there, just like that. Okay, when it all goes together properly. And then the cockpit is going to go in like that. Okay, and that will be it for pack 11. And as you can see, it is looking very, very busy. Looks very nice indeed, doesn't it? So what I'm going to do is stop now, because if you remember, we had our seat belts from these are from the Border Models kit. And as you can see, I've put black lines through these because I want these for the Border Models kit, but I've got 2 spare lap belts which I'm going to use on the Navigator and the wireless operator. So I'm going to paint these and fit them and everything in the next part. I don't want to have to do all this twice, so I'm going to do the seat belts together in the next part. So that will be in this video, I believe. So what we'll do is we'll get those belts off, we'll get them annealed just like we did with the other seat belts, the main pilot seat belts. So we're going to remove this plastic sheeting from either side, just like so, and then we get underneath it. Yeah, and just because the camera's on, it does not want to come off. And it wants to tear into individual little pieces because it's just a petulant little swine. Surely my knife is sharp enough to cut through a sheet of plastic film. And it is quite thick. Let's try again. Okay, get that off of there. Get these put in the bin out of the way. And then we're going to grab our PE cutting mat, get our round edged blade, and then what we can do is come along and just looking where these have got to be cut. Yeah. Come along and cut these off. Just like so. So these are going to be for the wireless operator and the Navigator's seats. Now if you don't have this Border Model kit, which I know most of you won't, don't worry, I would recommend, I'll put a picture up now, the Edward, I can't remember the number, I'll put the number up in numbers across the screen, the Edward seatbelt set, which is steel, and they're very, very nice. I would thoroughly recommend that if you don't have any seatbelts, because obviously there are no seatbelts in the model at all for the Navigator or the wireless operator, whereas there should be. There's also no seatbelts for the turrets, but I don't think you'll be able to fit them in anyway. Yeah, so I would recommend that set. And they're all pre-painted and pre-coloured. Don't try and anneal them because the paint will just burn off. But you just have to lay them on, because they're steel, they're not all springy like these are. So you'll be able to put them down and they'll go down really, really nicely. So I would recommend them. I really should have bought a set having thought about it. But too late now, I've done it this way. So I'm going to get these cleaned up, I'm going to get them annealed, and then we'll get them primed and painted. Alright, so as you can see, we've got the belts there, they're for the wireless operator. But this is the Navigator's chair, and what I've done is just annealed these belts and just bent them around roughly to shape how I'm going to want them to sit on the seat. You're not going to see much of them anyway, because the seat is actually going in here, it's going to be tucked under the table. But you know, at least you know they're there. So there we are. So that's it for pack 11. If you imagine the seat is in there, that's it. So now we need to look at what's going to be going on in pack 12. Okay, so here we are with pack 12, and this is going to be the wireless operator seat and the main wing spar cover. This part here, 12H, we've already fitted. That's that part in there, and that's where we're going to put the downward looking light in. And if you remember, I fitted this earlier because it's very difficult to do when you get to this stage. Now when we get to this stage, there are a lot of parts that are coming from other steps. We've got lots and lots of pieces coming from other parts. But for the build for these parts, you can see here we have this main spar cover, and we've got those seat pads going on there. So what I'm going to do is just roughly fit this seat pad, because I'm going to have to clean it up and I want to repaint it in a darker colour green. So that's going to go in there like so, and then this back one is going to go on the back like so. Okay, you've already seen me do all this. We've got this armrest piece going in the side here. Again, we've got the large and the small pin, so that's going to go in there. But again, I want to paint it separately and add it. So what we're going to do is we'll get this and we'll spray it all up. Now the wireless operator's seat belts are over here on this board. Okay, so what I'm going to do is actually drill some holes, because we've got these little, on the end of these seat belts, we've got these little tangs which are dead handy, and they can go into holes. So what I'm going to do is drill. First I need to get this off. Right, so I'm going to grab these horrible drills that I hate with a passion, but they seem to work really well on this material. What I'm going to do is drill, just going to look actually where that seat comes again. You are going to see these when you take the top off and everything, you're going to see them. So I'm going to drill a hole in the side there. That's going to be better off with a pin vise, a small pin vise and a drill. Oh, come here. Right, so we'll put that away. So we get something like a 0.6 drill, something like that. Get a small pin vise. Put that drill in, like so. So we're going to drill a hole here. Okay, it doesn't matter about the angle because it's only the end of that piece of photo etch that's going in. There we go, so that's gone through there. And then we'll also drill a hole in here. Again, angle doesn't matter. It's only for that little piece of photo etch to go in. So now we can put the cushion, in fact what I'm going to do is put this belt, I'll put the little one on that side I think. Grab my tweezers, put that belt into that hole there, put the seat cushion in place, just like so, and then we can bend that seat belt over so it sits flat on the seat cushion. Obviously when the seat cushion is all the way in fact I'm going to have to push it all the way in. There we go. So I can get this seat belt bent to the right shape. Remember, the buckles on the ends won't bend, so don't go bending them, they need to stay straight. Alright, so that's that one there, and then this one here, that little nubbin on the end can go into that hole, and then that belt can just sit on there. Okay, we'll go into that hole. Go into the bloody hole, you swine. Okay, we'll hold that against there and then push that down. I need something to hold that in there. Just want to hold that tight up against there. Oh dear, dear, dear. What I'm trying to do, guys, is hold that tight up against there and then bend the belt, and then I'll have the end just going over the front of the seat like that. There we go. Oh, I'm going to do this off camera because it's doing my head in. But basically you get the idea. What I'm going to do now is get these etch primed, get them painted in a sandy colour, and then I'll come back. Okay, before we start painting I want to get this assembly done. So this is the back of the main spar cover. So that's just going to go together like that. It doesn't need gluing. We've got a gap across the top which I could fill. Maybe I will, maybe I won't, we'll see. And then you've got this hydraulic reservoir going on, which is going to go into here like so. So that little tab on there is going to go in there. Now, I'm not going to glue this on now because, as you can see here, it sticks up and it's very easily knocked off. So I'm not going to put it on now, we'll put it on after when we've got some more of the fuselage on. So there we go. You could also do the same with the seat. You could leave the seat off because that's going to be quite exposed as well. It's up to you. So right, I've got to now decide on whether I'm going to fill this. I've got to get the belts painted, got to do lots of bits and pieces. So I'll see you back in a second, but it's going to be hours for me. I've just noticed something, guys, to be careful of with this part. If you start pushing everything together too tightly, watch what happens. See how this here has gone out of square with this. It's no longer parallel. So make sure you just ease it apart so that they remain parallel, because that's going to look silly if you've got your model down and that's all over the place. And it's also going to pull that side in away from the side as well. So make sure it's nice and parallel. What you could always do here, when you've got these really tight fits like this, it's not always good to have fits like this. Try and lever it apart. What I'm going to do is make them less of a tight fit, and then it won't have this tendency to pull everything out of shape. As you can see, it's a very, very tight fit on this. There we go. So once again, we'll measure these pins. 2mm, 2.3, 2mm. So I've got a 2mm drill here. So we'll just see, we'll just open them out a bit just by squiggling the drill around a little bit. I'll just take some material out the sides of those holes. Just make it less of a tight fit, because it's not good to have it all that tight. There we go. So now it just pushes together, as you can see, and it doesn't pull anything out of shape. And if I push it out of shape, it pulls itself back. Yeah. So worth remembering. I've just put a 2mm drill in there and just wiggle it about a bit so that that sort of makes the holes a bit bigger. And now we can just glue it together. So there we are. Right, get this glued together, get it filled, get it painted. See you in a minute. Okay, so that's glued together now, and as you can see, we've got a nice pile of super glue, so wait for that to dry and we'll sand that out. I've just remembered I said I'd mention the paints I'd used. My RF interior green mix, which is XF71 and XF76 or 21, I can't remember now, XF21 and XF71 mixed together, but roughly 50-50. The red that I've used for the sextant cover is LP18 dull red, or you could use XF9, I think it is hull red. LP65 rubber black, or XF85 for all the black stuff, because nothing is actually jet black, it's all like a very dark grey colour. This paint here, this is the 219 Mr. Metal colour, and this is the brass. It's polishable. I used that for the fire extinguisher, which is lovely. And then for touching in black details, Model Air 71057, aluminium part 71062, and the green seats are game colour dark green. So there you go, that's the colours I've used. Anything you see in these bottles is used in a brush. Anything you see in these bottles is used primarily with an airbrush, but do touch-ups with the green and everything. But there we go. So that's all the paints covered, so I can put all those away now. I'm going to go and get some painting done, as I say, I keep saying, and I'll be back probably in a few days, but for you it's going to be like that. Okay, so you join me a few hours later now. I've done a bit of work. As you can see, we've done the front of the G. We've also done the decal on there. I've also noticed I've put this too low. It should be slightly higher up. So if you haven't done yours yet, make sure you have a gap between the table. I'm not going to change this one now because it's going to make too much of a mess. So now I may change it, we shall see. But it should be higher up. It's too low down. So now what I'm going to do is go on and fit these seat belts. So where are my tweezers? Here is the one that's going to go here. So I'm going to just dip that little pin on the end into a drop of super glue and then put that in that hole, and that should hold that there. Then we can put a little drop of super glue underneath the belt, and then just push the belt down, and that should hold it in place. And that pin's not staying in, but that's okay. We're not going to be touching it and playing with it. It'll be absolutely fine like that. What we could do is just get the drop of super glue coming from the underside and just let it capillary in. That's that one going to stay there, and then this one, what I'm going to do this time, you can see I've scraped some paint off the back of the belt so we get a better bond, because the paint doesn't bond very well to the brass. So I'm going to put a drop of super glue on the back of that buckle, which I've also scraped the paint off of. I'm going to pass this belt into that hole in the side of the seat, the one that I drilled earlier. These go in, there we go, it's gone in now. Just turn it so it's in the right place. And then I'm going to put some more glue in there because it's not holding. I'm going to pull that belt round a bit forwards. And then we can put a drop of glue underneath where I know I've scraped it, because it's where that white bit is there. Just like so. And then just push it down and hold it there. And it should stay in place. My voice is squeaky today, isn't it? There we go. So you won't be wondering why it's sort of up, and because these buckles are steel and they won't fold, so it's sort of holding the, if you like, it's holding the harness out, and then the harness is falling away. That's why that's like that. Okay, so brass belts are not the best to work with. They have their pros and cons, but yeah, there you go. Anyway, so this this piece here has all been painted. You know, I glued it together, dealt with the seam on the top, so that's all done. So what we can do here, I'm going to put this belt, I'm going to put this small belt in first because it's going to be very difficult to get down next to the seat. So I'm just going to straighten it out. What we can do here is put it through that hole. Okay. And then we can come in from behind. Just put a drop of glue on it there and it will capillary up. And that should hold it in place. This paint's not quite dry yet, so I think I better put it down. Otherwise I'm going to start making a mess. Alright, and just as we did before, I am going to put a black-brown wash on these belts to just enhance them a bit. Okay, I'm not going to touch the seats. You may be wondering why, I think I may have said this before, I can't remember. You may be wondering why I'm not weathering this, and the reason is, it's because it's a part work. And I think once we've got all the interior done, I think then I will go in and start doing some washes and stuff like that to highlight everything. But the trouble is, if I start doing it in stages, so doing these belts is not a problem because they're all individual anyway. But if I start doing the front floor and then I start doing the back floor and I can't get the same effect, it's a nightmare. So I think what I'll do is look at doing it when we've got all the interior done. So it's not many parts away. I have seen somebody, as I say, today is Wednesday the 8th of May 2024. I've just had notification that my other parts are on their way. So that'll be 15, I can't remember if it's 5 or 6 parts you get with this one. 5, isn't it, I think? Or is it 4? I can't remember now. But yes, we get 4 or 5 parts. And then we'll get those out on the standard build, the other playlist. And then we'll start doing some modifications, but I think we get the engine. But I do know we go all the way back to the rear turret, so when you see me in a minute and I start covering parts, I think it's 13 and 14, I am not going to add the rear floor or the wing spar. I'm not going to fit it to the front floor here. That way we will have a cockpit section and we'll have a rear section, and they can be separate and they can sit in a box next to each other. Otherwise we're going to have this great big model this long, and I don't, because then we're moving on to the engines, so I don't know how long we're going to be having that stored. So I'd rather be able to keep it in a box, keep the dust off it, keep the damage away and everything. So there we go. So with this one, we've put the brown wash on there, and I'm just going to wipe over on the front and just, and you can see it just enhances things. It just makes them look that much better. Okay. So right, I've got that excess oil. You can see how much better those belts look now with that brown wash on them, and you can see those there. Okay. So that's that. Now what I might do now, I said I wouldn't do it, I might see if I can raise this up. Let's have a look. Okay, so what I've done, I managed to get this off. That's one of the beauties of using Tamiya Extra Thin. If you go over the joint again with Tamiya Extra Thin, it will come apart because it softens the plastic again, and I was able to just pull it apart. So that was cool. Now what I've done here is filed the ends flat, found the centre, drilled a 0.9mm hole, and in there I've got 2 bits of 0.8mm brass rod. You could use anything. If you've got some old pins or something, just cut them up, measure them, drill a hole a little bit bigger. The reason I make the hole a bit bigger is I've got some play. I've done the same one here. These are drilled. So what I can do now, you see, if I put that in there, I've got play. And if there's anything off centre, I can move it. You can see there, I can move that because I've got clearance. So what we're going to do, we're going to get some black thin super glue, and the reason I'm using this is it doesn't dry instantly. it takes quite a while to dry, which is what we want. We want some time to play with it. So we can put that on there. In fact, just before I do that, I'm going to just make sure the end of that is square-ish. Okay, and then we can put that on there, and we can just give it a turn, and then just wait for the glue to start to gel. And then we can kind of eye it up. It doesn't need to be perfect because you're not really going to see it, because we're only going to be 3 or 4 millimeters higher anyway, so that it'll be hidden underneath that table. But you want to get it as good as you can. What you can do, if you've got your tweezers, is come along with your tweezers and squeeze on the joint, and that will sort of pull it square again. So we can do the same on the other one. Plenty of super glue. Okay, let it flood in there. And then this one can go on. Go on. And as you can see with this one, I'm turning it, it's going all sorts of ways, so we've also got the hole not straight, so that's good. And then I can use the tweezers to straighten it up. I'm not happy with this, it feels a bit long, like it's bottoming out on the brass, so I'm just going to cut a bit off this length of that brass rod. I should have test fitted it first, shouldn't I? There we go, that's better. And as you can see, as I turn it, I can get it to stick out, I can get it to stick in, I can get it to stick forward, but somewhere between the two there will be a straight place. Okay, so we're going to let those dry. That one is slightly over. Not that it matters, as I say, you're not really going to see them. Okay, so I don't remember now. I know I could have left this back one longer because this one was right up here, but this one here I don't think it was any longer. I don't think I could have lived with that. So you may have to do this on yours, but do the front before you cut the back off, and then you can cut the back off at the right height. So, and because those are 2mm and those holes in there are 2mm, we will be able to just slide that down over there and then cut them off when we've done it. So I'm just going to put some more black thin in there just so that I can sand it and make a half decent looking joint. As I say, it's not absolutely critical because it's hardly going to be seen. Alright, so we'll let that dry, sand it back, and then we'll fit the radio, the G thing. And there we go. So there's the posts, all sanded, all nice and vertical, all good. So what we can do now is put this over those 2mm posts, just like so. And I've had a look on the border model, and the bottom of the shelf is about 25mm from the floor. So we can push this up to there. So as you can see, we're not going to see too much of it at all. So we can push that up to there, and then that one, easier to come into this side. 25mm. There we go, that's better. And then what I'm going to do is just put a drop of super glue on here because I just want it to kind of tack in place quicker than it would if I used extra thin, so that we could get on with the build. And also this will act as a filler, whereas the extra thin won't. If anything, the extra thin will give you a bigger crevice. Okay, so we can let that dry. Just double check our dimensions. 25, 25. It's nice and square. Just looking at it, so when we look at it straight on, it's sort of perpendicular to the shafts. We can always tweak it a bit afterwards. There's a bit of bendage in it. There we are, 25mm. So that's looking a lot more accurate now. So you can see how much we've moved it up. We've actually come up about 4mm, which is what I said, 3-4mm, didn't I? So there we are. Just going to remove the excess glue from there. Help it dry quicker. And then once that's dry, we can trim them off, go around and just brush paint it all in, and then stick our G back on. And you can see now, when we put this on the table, you can see now there's a gap between the bottom of there and the table. It looks a lot better. It's worth doing. A lot of extra fuss, but worth doing. So there we are. Now I'll have to go back and have a look. I don't remember. Perhaps you can have a look on your model. But if you can, that bar needs to be to the bottom of the shelf to there. It needs to be 8mm. So try not to. I don't think I cut anything off this side, did I? That was how it came in the kit. So there we go. Right. See you now. By the way, I'm using the VMS Flexi 5K CA Black Thin. It's awesome. Right. And there we go. So you can see that's all glued together now. And it's all looking lovely. So there we are. So well worth doing. I could not abide to see the H2S radio in there, so that's why I've done this. As you can see, I fitted the seat. You can't really see much of the belts, but you know they're there. So you know it's not like they're not there. You can see the wireless operator's belts. They're lovely. So sat like that. Right. So we need to get the book out again and look at what we're supposed to be doing next. All right. So as you can see here in pack 11, we've got everything done up. We've got these in the floor. Remember, I said I've tapped these holes. So now it's telling us to fit this unit into here, wrong way around, Nige. So that's going to go in like that. Now they're not through holes, so we're going to have to put some glue in, I think. Are we going to need glue or not? They're way too tight. I'm not going to expect them to push in. So it's probably a great big mould seam on there. Get rid of like so. Remember, we've doubled up on the paint as well. You know, the Hachette warn you about the thickness of the paint affecting the fit of parts. That still doesn't want to go in there. So what we're going to have to do, I think, is start doing some drilling. So that one there is probably 1.6. No, it's 1.44. So we'll get a 1.5mm drill. Just see if anything comes out of there. 1.5mm drill is very, very loose. So there's something else wrong. That really does not want to go in there. And I do not know why. Really tight. Maybe the peg is oval or something. We'll take some material off the front and back, just like so. I hate having to force things. That's what becomes a scale modeler that builds sprue models. You don't force anything. If you're forcing something, you've probably done something wrong. So there we go. So that's going to go in there beautifully. Now I'm going to get some of my clear. I don't know where it actually is underneath my chair. I'm going to get some of my clear super glue. This is the one for P. We're going to have to get a new Pringles lid soon, aren't we? We'll clean this one up. So I'm going to use some of the clear because I don't want to see any big black marks everywhere. And I'm going to grab a cocktail stick because there's black glue on the end of my glue applicator. So what I'm going to do here, if I put glue on the pins, I'll wipe the glue up and make a mess. So what we do is put the glue in the hole and wipe it around the sides. Okay, just like so. And the beauty of this this VMS stuff. It's not instant setting like a lot of the others are. I think it's probably the best super glue on the planet. It's certainly the best I've ever used. And the range they do is fantastic. Okay, so there we are. So that can push down in there. So just check everything's gone down fully. And there we go. There's our Navigator's table with his correct G radio and his seat with his belts all ready to strap up. Okay, so what's next? Now they're telling us to fit the cockpit. Where is the cockpit? The cockpit is over here, and I know this fits because I fitted it a little while ago, didn't I? It was just now in the video, but it was a couple of hours ago for me. So I know that fits. That's gone in absolutely fine. So what we'll do, where's my cocktail stick gone? We will get some of this glue and we'll put some in these holes down here. Because they're not going to be seen. We'll put some in these here. If I get any, what I'm trying to do is anything that oozes out or gets off the end of the stick, I'm trying to make sure it's on the inside so it doesn't show. I'm not going to put any in that one there. Okay, so we've got glue in a few of the pins, and that should be enough to hold that down. As you can see, it's all gone down easy because we check fitted it first. So there we are. That's beautiful. How's that then? You wouldn't believe that's a part work, would you? Now we've got some little pipes to go in here. Again, I'm not going to fit them right now. I'll fit them later when we put the side on. What are we doing time-wise? I think I'm going to call that a day because we've basically finished pack 11, and then pack 12 we've got quite a lot of work to do. In pack 12 we've done all this, we've built all that up. But now we've got to assemble, we're putting all these parts on. What we could do now actually is go on and fit this while we've got the clear glue out. I'm just going to check the fit of this. So that's going into there like that. Doesn't even need gluing. Just leave that loose. So there we go, that is our interior done. As I say, I haven't done any weathering, any washes or anything. I want to get the whole interior together and do it then. Because as I say, if I start doing this here now, then I do back here, it's going to look completely different. It's very, very difficult to transfer the weathering across. I'm just going to give that a little nudge down. I wonder if it's going to go in anymore. No. So there we go, that's it. All done, looking lovely, isn't it? So there we are. Right. Thank you for watching. I will see you all very soon for, we're going to do this bit, pack 12. In fact, the next part will be part 9, no, part 10. This was part 9, isn't it? The next part will be part 10, and we will be doing 12, 13 and 14, because 12 is all this work here, but 13 and 14 is literally just the rear floor and then the spar, the wing spar. And as I say, I'm keeping all that separate, so I'm not going to do any of 13 and 14. I'm just going to paint the parts because you have to have the rear section fitted to fit the spar. But I would rather, as I said earlier, I would rather have the rear floor sat here. Okay, we're going to add that tail piece on with the walkway for with the toilet, and then we've got the spar for the tail plane, and we'll have the walkway for the rear turret, and that's going to be probably that long. So rather than have a model sat here this long, we can have two parts, and then just all we do is put them together and put some screws in there, and then the tail plane, the main spar goes on here, and you put some screws through there. Job done. Okay, so we'll sort of break the sequence for that. I would suggest you do the same because it's going to make storage a lot easier. Because as I mentioned earlier, I'm sorry to repeat myself, but we are going to be fitting. We're going to be building engines and stuff like that, and undercarriage and stuff. So it could be that we end up with this fuselage that we've got to store somewhere. Keep it in two halves, it's going to be a lot easier. Right, Thank you for watching. I will see you soon. The other thing I wanted to say quickly before I go, you all know that this is a flying model. It's going to end up on its stand just like that. Okay, now it has no figures in it, which for a flying model is a bit strange. So we really should be putting figures in it if we want accuracy and everything. I would rather not have figures in my models. One, because I can't paint figures. I say I can't. I've never really tried as an adult. And two, I think they take away from the detail. Like if we put a pilot in there, we wouldn't have all that lovely harness detail. You wouldn't be able to see the rudder pedals. You know, if you put a guy on here, put a guy there, I'd just rather not have them in there. So it's going to have to be a sort of what if. It's a radio controlled dam buster. It was the 20th aircraft. It's the one that you don't know about. It's a special one. Yeah. Okay. Right. I'll see you soon. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.